and welcome once again. We are glad to have you here for this special event with the team improving employers' effective participation, awareness, and fostering dialogue on ESG among stakeholders in Nigeria.
The world is now a global village, as we call it, and in the context of responsible business conduct, it's also important that certain patterns, as we have seen it, that businesses align with those patterns, operating responsibly, taking cognizance of the environment, taking cognizance of the society in which they operate, taking cognizance of the issue of governance. And it has been shown by research that those organizations that actually practice sustainability or are involved in one way or the other, they remain, their propensity to remain competitive is higher. It gives prominence to their brands, risk mitigation, innovation and growth. And for all businesses that want to compete at the global level now, because Europe, America is now taking sustainability, ESG conversation very seriously. And then governance issues also. So if you want to be competitive from the Nigerian perspective, or you want to play where the big boys are playing, so to say, in the context of your business, then you need to align with this, with the conversation on sustainability, on ESG.
The ILO has been privileged to support NECA in championing ESG principles. Since its inception in 2024, LEADER has worked across 8 pilot countries in Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia to strengthen the capacity of employers and business membership organizations to lead on ESG. We have already heard a lot of things about ESG, and we all agree that responsible business practices are no longer optional. They are essential for growth. They open doors to new markets, strengthen supply chain reliability, and attract financial support. Today, a strong sustainability footprint is a key differentiator for competitiveness and access to capital. So in Nigeria, NECA has demonstrated remarkable leadership by making ESG a strategic priority. This proactive stance has positioned NECA as a key voice in promoting responsible business conduct and fostering dialogue among stakeholders. It reflects not only NECA's vision, but also its determination to create an enabling environment where enterprises can grow responsibly and competitively. So the ESG State of Play report, drafted with the support of Andersen, that we are going to launch today is more than a publication. It is a roadmap for action. It provides evidence-based insights into the current level of ESG integration in Nigeria, identifies gaps and opportunities, and offers actionable recommendations for NECA, businesses, policymakers, and investors.
ESG actually is the foundation of at least getting the environment good for both the employers and the employees. Most especially in organizations like ours, we see it as a beneficial aspect of establishment that through which we guide both our workers and what we do in terms of environment and all aspects of life.
For a company to be environmentally relevant and compliant, it means that the company must also adopt processes to ensure that it does not in any way degrade the environment where the organization is performing its duties. And some of these things could be by way of policies that the organization can put in place, and where it also requires some externalities, especially in the area of finance, to ensure that you probably adopt latest technology that would not in any way infringe on those elements of the environment, to ensure that there is compliance to a reasonable level. The challenges will also be in also ensuring that you are up to date concerning the new schemes, new promulgations worldwide coming from other associations or what we call the organizations to which the company could belong worldwide, in a way to just ensure that the company is up to date as to what are the expectations in the area of environmental elements for compliance.
So when we started to talk about ESG at the OCCE, we thought we can't talk about ESG without talking about E. The first E in the ESG must be economic. Because when we begin to talk about environmental sustainability, if we want to drive social inclusivity, if we want to ensure that there is governance and structure that has transparency, and people must be honest and have integrity, then there must be fluidity in incentives. So the economic drive then becomes the very, very strong, pivotal, argumentative aspect. Because if you want to speak to a community to say that they have to be climate responsible, the first question that we'll ask is, what's the benefit in it for us? Because it goes beyond just being in a clean environment. So I've heard examples around how a certain area in Lagos is always consistently developing a space during the Yuletide season, and they make it beautiful. And the ESG report in that place not only talks about the environmental sustainability, it talks about the social inclusion. It talks about health that is improving, because when people are in a place that is happy, what it means is that there is, the dopamine that makes them feel good. They're able to suppress anything that may tangibly want them to feel depressed.
As the world transitions towards more sustainable and inclusive economic models, ESG principles have become critical for competitiveness, resilience, investment attractiveness, and corporate accountability. For Nigeria, a strong ESG frameworks are essential in shaping the future of work, enhancing occupational standards, supporting enterprise productivity, and ensuring that no worker is left behind in the changing economic landscape.
If you think about ESG and sustainability, the oil and gas sector is at the driver's seat. If you think about the energy transition, the key driver for that is around sustainability. And a lot of organizations within our sector are thinking about what to do to reduce the carbon footprint. And that also means all the things we are doing within tree planting, within, for example, in Nigeria, removing flaring, gas flaring, thinking about alternative sources of energy. And you actually see that even in names, for example, organizations such as Total, you now see Total Energies, and it all is around sustainability.
Construction industry impact on the environment, and because they know that they impact on the environment, they will not leave the environment in a dangerous way. Construction does not finish until the environment is habitable to the people, and so we always make provisions as part of our costs in this aspect for site clearing and things like that.
So I think this report actually highlights opportunities, potentials that every organization, irrespective of what size you are, where you are on the journey, what you can do, to improve your practices, become more responsible in terms of your environmental behaviors, in terms of your impact from a social perspective, and also making sure that you're from a governance point of view, your reporting lines, your accountability is aligned with global best practices. So I think this report almost sets like a template and a roadmap that companies can tap into to see, from wherever you are, whether you're just starting or whether you are actually progressive or whether you are at an advanced stage, how you can improve your practices and make sure that you are more compliant and you're aligned with global best practices when it comes to ESG.
So for us at Nestle, ESG has been as important as our business results. So for us, it's been very, very pertinent that we take a holistic approach to ESG. So looking after the economy, of course, ensuring that business is prospering, but also ensuring that, we're looking after the society as well, and we're putting governance around that. So, in short, you can talk about PPP. So we're looking after profits, we're looking after people, and we're looking after the partnerships that help us to drive that.
The financial services sector has shown formidable level of improvement and implementation, in terms of compliance. And I think it's because the sector is regulated, most especially the banking sector, which is regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And in 2012, as early as possible, when other sectors are still booting, the Central Bank has already established the Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principles 2012 for banks to start implementation, and that led to why many commercial banks started early enough. We've seen Access, we've seen GT, we've seen Echo, we've seen Zenith, and so many banks, sending their reports annually over the years. And implementation in that sector has been very, very key and very robust. So recently, during the implementation of the IFRS standard, IFRS S1, S2, through the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, we saw massive compliance from banks, from early adopters to voluntary adopters. Quite a lot of them are banks who have shown commitment. And why they could show commitment easily and implement easily is because they've started early enough by the Central Bank of Nigeria since 2012. So a lot of them are mostly aware about ESG and sustainability.
I think banks generally are at the forefront of adopting ESG standards. So we look at Access Bank, where I work. We are one of the early adopters of ISSB standards, IFRS S1 and S2. We're the first bank to issue the first CBI certified green bond in Africa as far back as 2019. So generally I would say that banks have been at the forefront. There have been some challenges in terms of recent policy shifts globally. We've seen major international banks in the US and other parts of Europe exit the UN-led Net Zero Banking Alliance. But despite these challenges, I think that there are more opportunities around green financing, around mangrove restoration across Africa, and around large-scale recycling efforts. So to summarize, I think there are challenges, but generally the banking sector has been at the forefront. In Access Bank, we are clearly leaders in this space, and it's something that we are fully committed to as a bank.
Lagos State Waste Management as a stakeholder in driving ESG. We all believe that environment is very critical in ESG model, and innovation has been at the fulcrum of ESG. Our mission as an agency is to ensure that the city is cleaner, healthier, and more livable for all Lagosians. In the recent time, the agency, under the supervision of the ministry, has actually done a lot, and part of it I'm going to roll down, and those ones we have in the medium term, and those ones in the long terms. In the medium terms, we have recently signed a concession agreement this year as part of the journey towards driving sustainability in our environment space. We have signed concession agreement with a Ghanaian company called Zoom Lions, all the way in Ghana, which is our neighboring country, to construct a material recovery and also to provide transfer loading stations, at least to decommission our two legacy dump sites, which are considered menace to us as a Lagosian. Also to we've also signed an MOU with a Dutch company called Harvest Waste. And what does Harvest Waste come in to do in Lagos is for us to provide energy gap, especially for a rapid growing Lekki-Epe area. We uphold sustainability as our creed in all our operations by ensuring that today's activity does not affect the future.
Like we've heard from so many of the stakeholders, it's not a new thing. It's probably stemming and kind of summarizing the impact of safety, environment, health, sustainability as it sits in the SDG goals. So it's important that ESG is being driven by so many organizations. How would this be done? There are needs for incentives. I mean, I can recall to when we were going to start Safety Commission in Lagos State. It was important that we did a very intensive advocacy. Otherwise, we will not be able to get people on board. As we speak now, it's all over the place. Everybody understands what the impact of safety is. I mean, for the program to have started, I mean, I remember when we started with a safety talk. That's a milestone. You know, when we started, you'll have events, you will not have a safety talk. But right now, I'm beginning to look that in another 3 years, we will be having a safety ESG talk as a first of warm-up to any event to take place. So it's important.
ESG is an investor-focused framework for monitoring, managing and measuring key E&S metrics that may impact on an organization's sustainability. So it is like what you need to achieve at the short term in order to prevent a gap in the long-term sustainability of an organization. But then you cannot be able to manage what you can measure, meaning that there has to be a matrix and also framework for measurement. And that's where I see a real gap. For example, in GHG emissions management, you find out that a lot of organizations will tell you I'm adopting IPCC emission factors. Some will tell you it's GHG protocols. So for Nigeria, you know, it's like we are adopting what is happening in the Europe, and then we're not domesticating it according to our own current realities. So that's a huge gap. It's difficult to achieve like a peer-wise benchmarking if you don't have a unified template for monitoring, measuring, and management. I think if we're able to achieve that for Nigeria, then it will be a good thing for all of us. Thank you.
I'm very particular about small companies adopting ESG because you have a large number of them, and if they adopt ESG, then you have more corporate bodies adopting ESG. Also, the small companies are part of the value chain of the bigger companies, so it's important for them to understand it. Now, what stops them? You have gaps in knowledge, gaps in available information, you have gaps in industry-specific information on how you practice ESG. Therefore, a lot of them then begin to see it as a burden, a compliance burden. But we need to get them to understand that it adds value to themselves, to their business. So we need to have very viable business cases that are sector-specific on how ESG helps businesses to not just survive, but to thrive. We need to provide them with training, so that they understand how to practice it. It's one thing to know how to do something, but it's another thing to actually begin to do it. So they need to have skills, good information, and they also need to have data. In addition to that, we also need the right policies in place, because if we don't have the right policies, then it won't really work well. So if we put all of this together, we'll have companies that see ESG as not just compliance, but performance, and even better, good performance for their corporate bodies.
There are several things that companies and organizations have to do to use this report to improve their ESG adoption and strategies. I would say number one thing is to first understand that you are not in it alone, right? This report gives you an insight to what the organizations are doing. And because we have classified different organizations into different sectors, you would find a sector that you belong in. You see what's happening, what others are doing within that sector. It's always very quick for people to say that I'm alone in this and I don't know how to go about it. And the fact that NECA provides you with this report also means that they provide you with a platform to have conversations with others within those groups, because in doing our validation workshops, for instance, we had to invite people that NECA already has some associations with, right? So that is very important, and then you can see what has happened in Nigeria, what's currently happening, and where you should be going as an organization, and the benefits, of course. So there are a couple of things that the report unleashes and uncovers for every organization that picks it up and wants to do ESG adoption. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. I would say pick up the report, look through it, and then you'll find resources that would help you and where to go from here.
Well, we cannot but give credence to the support that we have received from the International Labour Organization. They have enabled us in this conversation. They have provided the resources, the technical support, almost everything we needed or we are in need of to drive the conversation at the national level. And we wouldn't have gone this far. We wouldn't have come this far without the ILO. And this is on behalf of our principals, on behalf of the organized private sector. I say a big thank you to the ILO for your support and other partners that have helped us in driving this conversation. And hoping that after the launch of the ESG state of play, that this partnership will continue to deepen, so that in a few years' time we'll come back and review where we are, and be glad to say yes, it was a partnership that really affected our country as a nation. So ILO, thank you very much, and thank you to the representatives of the ILO, Julie Kasegwe, and many others that are working behind the scene to make sure that this project gets to where we are, and also to colleagues that have driven the project from our internal side. I think it's been a journey worth embarking on with the ILO. So beyond the ILO, we also want to thank ACTEM. ACTEM ACTEM is our what I call him our father, while ILO is our grandfather. So we want to thank ACTEM, Deborah Francis, the director for ACTEM, and Julie, Samuel, everybody in ACTEM that has played one role or the other. I really want to appreciate the support that you have given, the capacity building you had for NECA staff, for members of the OPS, the program we also held, the bigger program we held where we also discussed the issue of the ESG. Those are fundamental steps that you guided us through and that you also funded, and we are not taking this for granted. So thank you, ILO, once again. Thank you, ACTEM, and thank you, colleagues also. I remember companies also that have shown openness to engage. I also want to thank you. They are part of the training, part of the capacity building. So thank you for your support. NECA is not taking it for granted.